Hi, I'm Josh from MediaLeaders.com, and on this digital growth broadcast, we're talking about Hispanic marketing. We have some Hispanic marketing experts, and the goal of this call is to find out what is working to engage the bilingual English and Spanish-speaking market to make sure that they feel as though the brand is talking with them in a sincere manner. I'm excited today because we're going to talk about all kinds of case studies, all kinds of different stuff, throw some stats at you. We're going to start first with our first expert that's down here on the screen, Joe Kutchera from Flipboard. Joe, welcome to the call.
Josh, great to be here.
Hey, Joe, can you walk us through real quick first? Can you walk us through what's working to engage the bilingual market, typically English dominant or Hispanic dominant?
Great question. So I'm the head of Hispanic content and publishers at Flipboard. We just launched our U.S. Latino content guide last week. As I'm sure many of you know, Flipboard's a personal magazine where you can bring together all your passion and interests in one place. Social networks, New York Times, The Guardian, and now a lot of content in Spanish. So I think one of the things that we learned the most is that we had launched I think number one is that it's always a work in progress, and we launched our Latin American content guide late last year, and we saw that about 15% of our users in the U.S., of our domestic users, we have about 100 million globally, about 40, 50 million in the U.S., and about 15% of those were actively reading and sharing information, articles in Spanish. So we saw the need to actually develop a product for the U.S. Hispanic market. And we intentionally brought together some sources of information in English like Fox News Latino, Huffington Post Latino Voices, as well as country of origin content from Mexico, like newspapers like Milenio and Excelsior, plus other Spanish language sources like Esquire Latin America, and then we actually engaged some community leaders and connections to develop their own personal magazines on Flipboard, where they brought together content in English and Spanish. Now, the reason why people or Hispanics may want information in Spanish and English is because if, let's say, you're a fan of whether it's Barça in Spain, the Pumas, the soccer team in Mexico City, you're going to find a lot more information in Spanish. And really, Flipboard, I think, just reflects this trend of personalization that sometimes I want information in Spanish about maybe it's soccer or other things, sports, but I'm going to want information in English, and I'm going to want to know what's going on in my local community, and I want to share that with my friends and family.
That's great. So walk us through, one of your tips that we talked about before the broadcast was that cell phones have been a really big key to this demographic. Can you talk to us about that for a quick sec? And we just had Ricardo join the call. Ricardo, welcome. We're live on it. We'll get to you in just a minute. Good to have you here.
Yeah, great question.
Mobile phones.
Great question, Josh. So regarding mobile phones, I think we're really seeing a trend of where the digital divide, where Hispanics have historically in years past not had access to a lower percentage access to the internet, and we're seeing this great leap forward via mobile phones and especially smartphones. And what we've seen, the dramatic growth of our U.S. Latino audience, we're seeing a dramatic growth, and that statistic that you cited from Latinum is a perfect example. I think you said that 75% of Latinos actually share and recommend apps with their friends and family. Is that the number?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The Latinum network found that 75% of U.S. Hispanics are likely to recommend an app to friends, family, and coworkers, and that's a recent study as of last month. That's great. Okay, so thank you so much. That was how can we engage. Ulysses, let's jump off over to you real quick. Talk to us about what's working, and talk to us about why the topic of this is if people are English dominant, how can we engage them? But I think you have another answer that actually flies in the face of that. Talk to us about why we should look at more than just the English dominant.
Hey, thank you, first of all, Josh, for the introduction and also to invite me. Listen, I think it's really important for us to really engage the Spanish dominant and also bilingual. And the numbers I'm sharing with you guys are You could go into our site and there's some sources, but there's approximately 52 million U.S. Hispanics here in the United States, and approximately a little over 70% they speak Spanish or they're bilingual. So in 2050, we're going to be 132 million. Now, if we still stand, even if we lower the percentage to 60 to 65%, that's still a huge, large portion of the Latino community that wants to be targeted and engaged through Spanish media. So it's really important that we always keep them in mind. And there's a lot of studies out there that also share that the new generation is more acculturated, meaning that they're adapting the U.S. Culture and also their parents' culture. So what that means is that there's probably going to be a better percentage of the new generation to be bilingual. So just remember to engage them. Now, how to engage them and what are the 2 tips that I would give you is one is acculturation. Again, is that make sure that you guys can utilize a voice that's neutral. That's one of the recommendations that we give. A lot of radio commercials and TV commercials I see sometimes they use a Spanish accent. Well, that might not be the best strategy. The second strategy is that don't do voiceovers on English ads. You're disconnecting and people won't identify. The other thing that we recommend right off the bat is have a plan in digital. And going after Spanish dominant and bilingual is extremely important because of the fact that out of the 33 million U.S. Hispanics that are currently online, 16 million are Spanish dominant and bilingual. They're looking for Spanish content, and that's extremely important. That they're searching for Spanish content and they can't find as much Spanish content. And I think Flipboard is experiencing great success because they're creating Spanish content. So those are the 2 things that I would recommend right off the bat.
I love it. Hey, Craig, talk to us about what's working that you're finding to engage the bilingual demographic.
Okay, so a couple of things. I'm actually going to touch on something Joe said and something on Ulysses said as well, but we own the largest U.S. Hispanic call center that I know of in the country. We, if there's a show on TV that uses Spanish language, we probably take 80% of that traffic. And, some of the things that we're working with our clients on, really mobile. Joe talked about mobile. I'm going to touch on that a little further. We've actually started to recommend to a lot of our Hispanic clients that they put their shopping cart through Amazon because Amazon's the only company that I recognize as mastering the one-click purchase. Mm-hmm. And where almost 75% of Hispanics have a smartphone, it certainly makes sense. Now, somebody might say, well, I'm giving up 15% of my current revenue stream to Amazon. And that's absolutely true. But the benefit of doing that on Amazon is you're not paying for marketing. So that 15% becomes a marketing expense, and Amazon will drive traffic to your brand. In some cases, it's over 3 times as much traffic as you're driving to your brand. So that's one tip I'm playing off from what Joe said. Enculturate. We have a lot of our clients that shoot infomercials, and we've actually seen infomercials come in where they dub a white woman from Utah in Spanish. And, of course, when a Hispanic, no matter what their acculturation rate is, sees an infomercial like that, they know you're not taking your marketing seriously. So we've actually started to edit and reshoot different portions of our infomercials, putting Hispanics in the actual show. Lo and behold, putting someone that you're trying to target into the show. And then we'll actually use products or services that a Hispanic might actually want to use. So instead of making a smoothie with strawberries and bananas, we'll actually make more of a Latino dish, maybe a salsa, some guacamole, or something that really enculturates into that market. And that really is important whether you're targeting someone who is really on the Spanish end of the acculturation scale or on the English end of the Hispanic acculturation scale. So the last thing I'm going to touch on is Ulysses talked about digital content. What we've done in our call centers, we've been able to actually look at who our buyers are, and we've actually gone and done some research both on the data analysis end and really sent that data over to Facebook to analyze, who our customers might be. And we've recognized that throughout the U.S., there are 5 levels of acculturation. You've got level 1 and 2 where if they're living here in America, they've got a Mexican flag or a Hispanic flag on their front porch. They're truly representing their country of home. and origin. And then you've got the 4s and 5s that would be Hispanic but have an American flag on their porch. And then there's level 3 that's kind of right down the middle. And when you're doing your marketing, you absolutely have to know what level of acculturation, based on the zip code and the community you're targeting, you want to be aware of who you're marketing to and really how to represent your brand with those different acculturation rates.
That's really interesting. So you shared with us the Amazon one-click purchase technique. I love that. Even though there's a 15% revenue share with Amazon, it's still pretty awesome. And then the 5 levels of acculturation. Let's jump over to Ricardo real quick. Ricardo, welcome. I want you to, Ricardo, you're with ESPN. Can you walk us through a couple things that we can learn that's working for ESPN Deportes on engaging the bilingual audience?
Absolutely. Well, I personally handle the business-to-business side of the network. There's also the B2C side, but I've noticed that in both arenas, for both B2B and B2C, what has definitely worked is I totally agree with what Ulysses and Craig just said, and it's definitely the level of acculturation has helped out a lot. But I've noticed that what truly stands out whenever you're communicating to the Hispanic market is that you have to be very honest and very upfront of whatever it is you're selling, a product or service. In this case, our shows and content. So that has helped us out in both the B2B and B2C arenas. We tried, for example, we just finished revamping and relaunching the whole website that we had for the ad sales team, for business to business, because we noticed that even though they wanted to invest in the network, they didn't really fully understand what the capacity is and what the shows were about and things like that. So we took it upon ourselves to create this new website where we took the clients, which are often English dominant, and they really don't know. They're media buyers, and they really don't understand. They know that they have to invest money in a network as important as ESPN Deportes, but they don't really fully understand what the shows are about or what their brand is going to be or service is going to look like within these shows. So what we did is we created the whole website, which is like right now it's at a ESPN Deportes 101 stage, so we can take all the media buyers and all the advertising agencies and take them by the hand and actually introduce them to all our hosts and things like that, because we do have a lot of similar programming that is a reflection of the general market network that we have, but sometimes that doesn't come off in translation. It comes like a completely different show, and they need to understand that. So that's what we do on our business-to-business realm. And when it comes to business-to-consumer, what I've noticed is that whenever we're more engaging in social media and platforms like that, it's like Ulysses said, we're all the time, the Hispanics are basically connecting through their cell phones, and their media usage is like, it's incredible. We've seen some numbers here that are really skyrocketed, and especially when big events like the World Cup are right around the corner. I mean, it's incredible the amount of connectivity that we get with our viewers and and things like sweepstakes and having personal conversations with the fans and the followers. It's very important as long as you remember to be very consistent and always be truthful and be honest about the way you approach them, because I've noticed that some other networks are very, of course, we have to be careful. We have to be very politically correct in a lot of things, but you lose a little bit of that personal feeling that the consumer and the fans are shouting for, that, hey, who are you rooting for? What's ESPN Deportes prediction and things like that. Those are the kind of elements and the kind of things that make us a little bit more appealing to viewers. So I would say those are pretty much the things that I've been working at right now.
That's great. So on that personal, sincere note, we're going to come back to that, and you're going to share with us something at ESPN Deportes that I liked on the case study. Our next person is from Kellogg, the actual company, the consumer products company. I believe it's pronounced Rajaa. Is that correct? And I think she's there.
That is correct.
Hi, how are you? Did I just turn your video off?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good, good. I think your video just turned off.
No, I'm still seeing you.
You know, maybe you click one more. There we go. Well, welcome. Hey, Rajaa, walk us through from Kellogg, where you guys are consumer products brand. Walk us through, what are you doing to engage the bilingual Spanish-speaking, English-speaking demographic?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we have many brands in our portfolio, and some of these brands have with the Hispanic consumer for many generations, either back home, and they come to the U.S., it's still part of their consumption patterns, like Frosted Flakes, called Garitas in Latin America, or Corn Flakes. And we have a different pattern of how to market these brands with different types of tactics with the Hispanic consumer. So Frosted Flakes, for example, we obviously have Spanish language TV spots and commercials and campaigns that are grounded on true Hispanic insights. For example, for the Frosted Flakes, it's all around team family and around the enjoyment of sports with Frosted Flakes, but as a family, not from an individual gain or basis. So that is something that is true about Hispanic family dynamics, that they go and tackle sports as a family and not just like a divide and conquer with other types of general market families, for example. And based on that, that gave birth to a bigger campaign where we have Spanish-speaking cast being and showcasing the insights around the brands for the Hispanic consumer. And with Frosted Flakes, we also have it on a Hispanic digital strategy front, where through online media, online video, as well as a integration around Más Latinas, which is a Hispanic digital blogger network, Frosted Flakes is able to speak to this consumer in a way that is enabling them to have better lives, better days, through recipes, through tips. So that's really a nice integrated approach. When it comes to other brands like Cheez-It or Pringles, we just started developing TV spots that are centered around either a global insight or a total market insight, or a general market campaign that we kind of adapted to make sure that we tease out some of the news that we know are culturally relevant for Hispanic consumers, such as Cheez-It around the Sabor campaign, which is all about 100% real cheese flavor, 100% queso de verdad, and that is something that really is more centered around how, what are the expectations from a taste perspective that Hispanic consumers have of their snacks. So that's some of the ways. Really for us, authenticity is key with true Hispanic insight or insight that resonate in a deep way, as well as original work that we know some of our key brands is going to need to be important and be on par, if not better than regular, general market campaigns, because we cannot be given a product or a campaign that is subpar to what they're getting, such as some of the examples that I heard earlier, general market spots that are being dubbed with voiceovers in Spanish. So, and digital plan that's really sound, and we know, for example, here at Kellogg, that recipes are the #1 search item for Hispanic women online. Hispanic women over-index every digital and online behavior. So we made that the cornerstone of our first ever Hispanic digital platform that I'm very proud of, have launched a few months ago here in the company, called Días Grandiosos con Kellogg's, or diasgrandiosos.com. And recipes is a cornerstone of that content that we serve up for the Hispanic consumer, but also telling stories around in articles using a journalistic approach where we kind of insert brands as needed, but not in every piece of content, just to make it authentic and to be part of those daily lives and make the lives of Hispanic women better every day.
Great. Well, thank you for those insights. We're going to jump over to Joe now. Rajaa, I'm going to have you, if you could, take your laptop into if you can. You seem to have a slow internet connection. If you could move around a little bit and try and work on that, that'd be awesome, because we're going to come back to you. Okay, we have just a couple minutes left. I want to run through everybody and give us an example of a case study. I know all of you have listed out a case study. Give us an example of a case study in less than a minute, please. I really got to be sensitive on time. What are good brands, and it could be one that you work for, that are doing this right, but don't just tell us that you're doing it right. Please share with us how they're doing it right and why it's interesting. Joe, we're going to start with you.
At Flipboard, we're still learning a lot about how to effectively develop content for the U.S. Latino audience. We have a mix of Spanish, we have a mix of English, country of origin content from Mexico. English language content from sources here in the U.S. where we can bring everything together and personalize the experience for U.S. Latinos in the U.S. With an experience inspired by print. But aside from Flipboard, I think Rajaa, you mentioned her content initiative, and by the way, I'd love to hear that URL again, the name of that website. But similar, it sounds like what she's working on is Unilever and some of the other consumer product brands are. Unilever launched Vive Mejor. It's a Spanish language content hub, if you will, or a center website where for all of its different beauty and cooking brands, where there's information, articles, blog posts relevant for Latina women. And I think you see that as a major trend for all CPG companies who are developing content online. They want to actually have one hub or website where all the content lives for all their brands, relevant information for Latina moms.
Okay, that's great. So that's vivemejor.com by Unilever. We're going to put that link below. Thanks so much, Joe. Ulysses, let's jump over to you. Walk us through a case study, and I think actually I want to dive into your most specific one, Rosetta Stone. Talk to us about how that's working.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so you guys know, I own a inMEDIato Media Consultants, which we are a DM and DR marketing media company, and Rosetta Stone is one of our clients. And before they came on board, they had 3 agencies trying to go after the Spanish market, believe it or not, and they could not succeed. And now we're doubling their profits at a weekly basis, even more. And what we did is the following. Before, they had mostly of a branding commercial and really translating the English copy, which a lot of companies do. And sometimes they just give up, and they're like, oh, the Hispanic market's not for us because we tried it and it didn't work. Well, it's because you haven't enculturated. So that's exactly what we did. So there's a couple of things that Craig and Ricardo said that it's important. And number one is that you want to make sure that you really, the voices and the personalities that you put on TV, they have some type of a neutral accent. It's important because there's so many people from so many countries that speak Spanish that have different accents. So it's really important that it's really neutral and it can identify to everyone unless it's a specific product for a specific country like Mexico. Number 2 is going back to Ricardo. Honesty. Honesty is so important because of the fact that we have been burned so many times as a community. That's important that you just be direct with them. So one of the things that we did on the commercial is to actually tell them the price of, hey, you could get Rosetta Stone for English right now for $274 to get a better job and a better life. So we kind of we did those 2 things, and now we're doubling, tripling Rosetta Stone profits at a weekly basis. So those are the key points that I want to make sure that people know.
That's really great. Let's jump over to Craig. Craig, real quick, can you walk us through one of your, you have a large children's charity that you're doing some neat stuff for. Can you walk us through how you're generating more donations from the Spanish audience?
Well, it's very interesting. One of the things that we have is a tremendous sales center. Our agents are trained in the sales process. They're really good. And this children's charity in English, they ask for a monthly donation. And they put a Spanish ad together. They enculturated it really well. It was driving terrific traffic. And one of the things our agents said is, we're getting a monthly donation, but why don't we also ask for a one-time donation on top of it? And in English, they've tried to adapt this, and in English, they're getting 8% of the customers to do a one-time donation along with the monthly. At our center, we get 30% of the customers to do a one-time donation along with the monthly. Now, the way that we do that is pretty unique because, as everybody's talked about, honesty. The Spanish customer is a little bit more unique. In English, you can almost walk into a bar and ask a girl to go home with you, and in Spanish, you have to buy the girl the drink first. So we actually have put a sales process together where we personalize, we disarm, we ask them a little bit of information, and then, of course, we say, so, let's move forward with our date. And we end up getting better results in Spanish in most cases than we do in English because we understand who our customer is. To go even further, we've learned that Hispanics are a little bit price sensitive once you get over the $200 mark, and but they're not spend sensitive. They love to spend money. And so what we've done is we've changed all of our scripting out where once we get an order, once the ticket gets close, we move all of our upsells and cross-sells into a continuity-based offer. And so we've ended up getting 40 to 50% upsells on products we're in the English market because they're not doing it the same way. They're getting lower cross-sells. So I could go on and on about people doing it right. And it's based on the fact that we've been in business for 7 years and we've made a lot of mistakes.
That's great. Thanks so much, Craig.
I've got 20 more tips. Just give me time.
I love it. I love it. All right, Craig, let's jump over to Ricardo. Hey, Ricardo, walk us through a case study that you developed for ESPN Deportes and why it's doing so well.
Well, actually, I think the best thing that I can share with you guys is we just had our recent upfront. And instead of going, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the upfronts that networks do. They throw out this huge party and they have like massive presentations and they do keynotes and they bring all kinds of celebrities and they want to sell you in the how great their network is doing. So going back to the part of where I was talking about honesty and truthfully and we kept it this year. We kept it simple. Instead of doing a party, a dinner, or something flashy like that, we decided to take it down a notch, and we actually did a breakfast. And the breakfast was done in kind of like a Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel talk show style. But what was really surprising for most of the guests is that they would hang out pretty much like we are right now virtually, but they would hang out at a table with our honored talent and the people that are working behind the network, and they would be engaging in conversations with them. So they would like learn firsthand what the network is about, and they would see for themselves that, hey, most of these things aren't scripted. We're not selling. I mean, we are selling a network, of course, but we have the expertise. We have the ex-athletes. We have the best on our talent. We have people that have been in this business for years. We want you to sit down and just talk to them normally like you would any other people, but it happens to be that you're a media buyer and I'm the guy in front of the camera, and this is the producer right here next to me that's going to be handling the Pan American Games or the Euro Cup or whatever we have on the works. So that worked out perfectly for us, and it came fully 360 because when we actually launched the website and we created a new trade media campaign, so they could see firsthand that, hey, these guys are on the level. These guys got us to engage with their honor talent, their producers, and everybody. We were talking one-on-one, and even after the upfront was over, we just had 1 hour to promote the new events and the new shows that we're going to be airing. People still wanted to stay in the room and wanted to learn a little bit more about what ESPN Deportes was doing. So I think that's a very good takeaway for everything. Just speak from the heart, and everything else will come naturally. And that's a good point, what Craig just said.
That's really great. So I think the key takeaway there is you created a personal handshake, sit-down dialogue between the agencies and the on-air talent during the upfronts, which helps them want to sell somebody they've already met, which I think that's rare. Very cool. Let's jump over to Rajaa. Can you real quick walk me through maybe a case study real fast that you've found to be really effective? We've got about 1 minute left on the broadcast.
Okay, I'll be quick. Well, I think the one that comes to mind is really the Hispanic digital platform that we launched, Días Grandiosos. Why is it unique? It's the first time in a CPG industry that we engage the Hispanic consumer in digital, but through content marketing, not through marketing or through branded content that's really pushing brands and beating you on the head with the branded message, but it's more around a selfless, user consumer first approach, and talking to this consumer around cultural relevant stories about other consumers and Hispanic families just like them that are going through life and are actually being challenged with the same issues as the consumer itself, and how are they able to come through and really become doing some great things for them and their families. And then from there, it's really getting them interested in the story that Kellogg has in order to, through our products, be able to solve for a better life for them, bring them joy and optimism into their everyday moments, which makes for great days. And that is something that for me was really telling, and we got some amazing engagement not only on our Facebook page, but also some of the buzz that was generated when people have discovered the platform. And it's around storytelling, because Hispanics want to know about stories of other people that are just like them, that are going through all the the difficulties of immigration, of living in a different country, or living in a dual culture for some of the U.S.-born ones. And I think in those stories, people are finding the power and the resolve to have a better life and keep going. And in the process, if some of the Kellogg products can help them do so, then it's a win-win situation. So it's really engage them with authenticity through storytelling. That was a huge breakthrough for me as a multicultural marketer in the CPG industry.
That's great. Thank you so much. Hey, I want to thank all of our speakers today that have come out from all different parts of the United States. This is really great to have all of you here. Those of you that are watching this broadcast or the replay video on YouTube, you can learn more about us at MediaLeaders.com. Today we've been talking about techniques to market to the bilingual Hispanic community that's either English dominant or Spanish dominant. Some of the biggest themes were be sincere, give them fast, easy tips that are great, use different checkout systems that help the bigger companies can help you market. It's been really great to have everybody. You can use the links below this video to learn more about Media Leaders and to link to a blog post where you get all these tips and techniques from our experts that are on the call right now. Look forward to having you. We do these broadcasts every 2 weeks, so you can go to MediaLeaders.com. Click on the Digital Growth broadcast to learn more. I'm Josh Oakes. As always, keep it light, bright, and polite, and I look forward to seeing you on a future video. Have a great day.
Thank you.